Shabbat Shalom. Last week a friend knocked on the door and gave us a homemade pizza. Another friend gave us loaves of bread from the local bakery, bread by Johnny. We received hand sanitizers, homemade fried chicken, 2 fabulous bottles of wine. All these gifts would have made me really happy any day of the year, maybe with the exception of the hand sanitizers. But this week it was much more meaningful because it showed us that people care. People notice that we are quarantined and don't have an easy access to grocery stores, so they help. Thank you. I was also offered 2 items that I politely declined. One was toilet paper and the other one was N95 masks. I declined the toilet paper because I have enough and we should not hoard. And I declined the masks not because I have them, I don't, but because I know that there are people out there who need them much more than I do. There are people who are regularly exposed to the virus, from the medical professionals to the people who work in our local public stores, and they need the adequate protection. So if by any chance you have a hidden stash of surgical gloves or masks that you don't really need, please find a way to pass them to the people who will use them to save their own lives and the lives of others. This is the right thing to do. This is a mitzvah. Being on the side of being a recipient of help made me look at the whole situation in a more balanced way. It is true that things are really bad, really difficult, and I do believe, like others, that we didn't see the worst of it. But I've been noticing more and more that there are some good things. There are people who do beautiful things that we must pay attention to, because focus only on the negative just makes us more anxious, worry more, and we must balance it off with looking at some of the nice things. And there are many of them, you know. So normally when we face a threat, we respond with fight or flight, or more accurately with fight, flight, freeze. But in a situation like ours that threatens not the individual, but the entire community, the entire collective, it's not really helpful. And I was happy to see that more people switch from fight or flight to tend and befriend. And what I mean by that is that people respond to danger by tending themselves and their families, and at the same time befriending others in order to enlarge their social network, in order to have more people around them who help each other. We recognize that we are dependent on other people to survive these difficult times, and we see it not as a sign of weakness, but of strength. So while fight or flight really focuses on the individual and pushes us apart, tend and befriend focuses on the collective, on the group, on the community, and brings us together. Let me give you a few examples of how things like that work out. Last Wednesday, Marcy led a beautiful healing service. There were songs, there were readings, prayers, of course the Mishaberach prayer, in which people had the opportunity to mention names of loved ones who are ill and in need of healing. During the service, people shared some comments, and one of them really caught my attention. It said something along the lines of, "I'm an Orthodox Jew from New York, and I really enjoy your service. And I was thinking, what is an Orthodox Jew from New York doing in a Reform service in Florida? Just by the fact that it is led by a woman, it shouldn't be a comfortable service to attend for an Orthodox Jew. And I realized that, that person was looking for some strength, some spirituality, something that he couldn't find somewhere else, and he found it in our service. And it's the right thing to do. And then it dawned on me that I did the same thing only several hours before. I attended a Talmud class taught by an ultra-Orthodox rabbi in Canada, something that I normally don't do. Not because there is anything wrong about it, but it's just not my style. However, I was searching for some inspiration in Jewish sources, and I stumbled upon this class. And it was a really interesting experience. So, even in the Jewish community, too often we focus on what sets us apart, like our religious affiliations, this different movement. But now, since we are all in it together, we seek help and support from each other, not only within the Jewish community, but we're all of a sudden connected to everyone else in the world, just by virtue of suffering the same way. Another example that perhaps you read in the papers about comes from England. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, before he himself was diagnosed with the virus, ordered the Dyson company that manufactures vacuums. He ordered them to design and build medical ventilators. It took them 10 days to design and build a new machine. It's quite incredible. Normally, something like that takes months, which showed me that the motivation of saving lives is much greater than the motivation of making money. The most amazing part of this story was that the owner of the company, even though he was asked to build only 10,000 machines, that was the need of England, he decided to build 15,000 machines. And what did he do with the rest of the 5,000 machines? He didn't sell them for a huge profit. I'm sure he could have, but rather he decided to donate them to poor countries. Wealthy countries can receive medical equipment. They can buy it. But poor countries who suffer just like everyone else are not in a position. So he decided to donate them. What a beautiful thing to do. And on a smaller scale, we read these little stories. For example, in Milan, in Italy, people start exercising together on their balconies every day at 6 p.m. It started when one person did it and somebody saw him and then other people. And they said that before that they hardly knew each other, and now the entire building, 6 o'clock p.m., gets together to exercise. Gali's uncle Enrique, who lives in Lisbon, Portugal, told us that in his community, people started the practice of clapping their hands and cheering medical professionals when they go in and out of the hospital. They do it in order to thank them, to acknowledge the fact that these nurses, doctors really risk their lives in order to protect our own. They're sending them thank yous and strength. Even in our local community of Temple Beth, Maya Levkovitz and Brielle Cohen volunteer to help anyone who needs help with grocery shopping, picking up some medicine from pharmacies. Just contact them. The information will be on Facebook and on our website. They have an access to many other high school and college students who are very happy to help. Helping others really help ourselves to deal with the situation, to deal with the fear and the anxieties that we feel. I would like to encourage you to be safe. Wash your hands regularly. I know it's something that you normally don't hear from a rabbi, but I'll keep mentioning that the greatest mitzvah we have is to protect our lives and our health. Ushmartem me'od lenafshotechem. It's not an advice, it's a commandment. And we know that social distancing and washing hands properly really help. When my quarantine is over, my life will remain the same. I'm not going out more than I need. I'll spend most of the day at the house like most of you in order to stay safe and to keep others around me safe. So let's stay safe and healthy. Let's try to help as many people as we can. Even if you cannot leave the house, a phone call at times like that will make a huge difference in somebody else's life. And as anyone who has performed a mitzvah knows, the person who performs it, the person who helps others, gets a much greater reward than the person who receives it. So let's help others. Let's keep in touch with our community via the phone, attending our classes and services and many other activities. We're all in it together, and we will be okay. Soon we'll be able to celebrate Shabbat in our own beautiful sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom.